Hey guys, OG Albini here, bringing you guys SPL draft notes for round 1 of playoffs, the show about everything and anything SPL related. If you guys are excited for this week of draft notes, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 5,000 subs by the end of the year. If you drop a sub, it really helps me out and helps push on towards that goal of 5K. Now, I do just want to give you guys a quick apology. I know there was no episode last week. I unfortunately just got the graphics a little later than was possible for me to get an episode together. So, unfortunately, we had to take a week off. But really quick, we are going to go into the playoff scene and kind of go over the teams that made it in going into, round 1. Going into round 1 of playoffs. Let's take a look at the playoff picture a little bit here. You can see Gator ended the season perfect with an 8-0 record, plus 21. Pulled up with mono choice in week 8, by the way, and still went crazy. Joey with his 6-2 record on the back of Big Billy and Dugong, who both put in work in the regular season, I think. Actually, I'm not sure if Billy did, but he was able to grab a 2 seed despite having, the funny picks at the top of his draft. He was able to bring it around. Uzi going 6-2 with his monstrous Dragon Ball GU team with Treads and a bunch of fun support. Honestly, I think Uzi's team was my favorite on paper. Him, Playmore, and Chimpact probably, which those teams all made the playoffs as well. Emvee able to turn his season around, going 5-3. He went a little bit of a skid there, dropping a couple games straight, but able to pick it up and go back around. Speaking of coming back and having a strong second season. Sorry, I'm stuttering all over myself. But Leo, after not making playoffs last season, had a very, very solid play and performance this season. I think he played phenomenally throughout the whole season. Was able to go 5-3. Shady going 4-4 with a great differential point, allowing him to get the 6th seed and scoot into playoffs in his first draft league. And man, a ton of years at this point. That's been a really fun story to watch this season. Then we have Playmore getting in on their last week win. 4-4 plus 3. Hopefully Tar Heel can keep the ball rolling. Use that Valiant Garchomp Metagross core to bring himself a championship. And lastly, we have Chimpact, who gets in by quite literally 1 differential above Shuckle King here with a 4-4 minus 2 record. He's got his work cut out for him in the first round of playoffs, but Chimp has a great team, and I think he's played really well this season despite his record. So this will definitely be a really fun one to see how it goes down. But yeah, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start looking at some matchups. For our first playoff matchup we're going to talk about today is going to be Emvee, who selected Playmore to be his first opponent here. Now, from Emvee's side, I think Annihilate looks crazy strong. Personally, I'd rock out with Roselli Berry, but I think Leftovers, Citrus Berry, there's a ton of different options that you can go with on it. But the main thing is I think Taunt Bulk Up is going to be incredible. I think our dual stabs are just 100% enough. We can bulk up on Taunt things, and Taunt's going to be great for the likes of Weezing, Haze Vaporeon, even things like Chestnut, and, Pokemon of that kind of nature. Even like a Will-Wisping, Focus Sash, you probably just raised yours twice, but regardless, I think Annihilate is really strong here, and can get the ball rolling. And again, with that Roselli Berry, if we get up enough Rage Fist boost and enough bulk ups up, you eat up that Moonblast, you get another boost to your Rage Fist, and you just pick it off and knock it out from full, which is really nice. I also think that Raging Bolt looks really solid. Its stabs are incredible in this matchup. They usually are. Electric Dragon is a great combination, but in particular to a team like this that doesn't have a very fat Spadef Fairy, it's going to go crazy. Now, I think there's 3 different options here. You can go Specs, which is a little bit more prediction reliant, but picks a KO literally every time it comes in if you click the right button. You can also go with a Shuka Berry variant or a Roselli Berry variant. Shuka for the likes of Garchomp and Crocodile, and Roselli obviously for that Iron Valiant. All of which I think is very viable, and I think this Pokemon looks really strong in this matchup, just with some kind of 4 attack set, or maybe even a Calm Mind variant, but really I think you want to come in, click a button, get out. Is kind of how I would play Bolt, at least in this matchup. I also really like Terra Ground Flygon here. There are ground resist, right? Things like Chestnut, things like Weezing, but I think those Pokemon are very exploitable. And again, I think the combination of Bolt plus Flygon is really strong offensively. We also grab U-turns into Annihilate, get into free switching, or we can grab U-turns into our Weavile, which looks really strong here. You have tech options for those, ground resists, like Mixed Flygon looks pretty strong, but in general, I think that Terra Ground spam is going to be really strong here in a matchup where the ground resists are a little bit more iffy on paper. I also think the Banded Weavile looks really strong. I think I kind of mentioned Weavile here a second ago. Just the combination of Triple Axle, Ice Shard, and Knockoff hits this team ridiculously hard. Especially if it's not a Terra Fairy Glastrier, or it hasn't gotten that Terra off. It's going to be pretty tough for Playmore to, you know, switch into that thing, at least initially. I also like Mew a lot in this matchup. I think offensively, it looks really, really strong. Really, you need Psychic, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, and from there, you can go a ton of different options. I personally like a really fat, nasty plot 3 attacks variant, but realistically, there's a ton of things you can do, and this thing can go absolutely crazy. Colbur Berry is a really good option for the likes of Scarf Crocodile, as well as Knockoff from Valiant. And even Metagross, right? Because you'll obviously eat a Meteor Mash as well. And you'll live all those hits from full, but kind of the idea is to live multiple, right? So we can pick a couple KOs since we're not boosting speed. Then I also like Pheasantipity. I think it's a solid Valiant check, and Valiant just goes absolutely stupid on the team otherwise. You gotta be careful of either Psycho Cut or Size Shock, but if you can pivot around those correctly, maybe rock out with a Payappa Berry, you might be in a pretty good spot here to check the Valiant. Now, as for Playmore's side, I really, really like Valiant. Just mentioned it. Really outside of Pheasantipity, you just click Focus Blast / Aura Sphere and Moonblast and you prosper. And there's not much stopping it. Vacuum Wave is a cool tech option for the likes of Weavile to be able to outspeed and just pick the thing off from full. And in your last slot, you probably just go Side Shock, hit that Fez. You don't need any other coverage. I think Specs is really, really strong here. Even if something like Fez does come, if it takes any prior chip, those Specs Moonblasts are going to do a ton of freaking damage. Ground versus Toedscruel on the other side. So we just talked about Emvee having solid ground spam. I think it's even better from Playmore's side. The combination of Garchomp and Crocodile look really, really powerful in this matchup. One can be a Wincom, one can be a Scarfer, or whatever you want to go with. Regardless, both Pokemon look really, really good here. I think Scarf Moxie Crook plus, you know, some kind of SD Garchomp could go absolutely insane in this matchup, maybe with Yachi Berry on one of the two or something like that. I think that defensive Vaporeon seems needed for the Weavile. If we're saying our double ground does really well, we probably want something that can consistently switch into Weavile. Even Banded sets, lose our leftovers or a Rocky Helmet, and then, you know, be able to take reduced damage and Wish Up and keep the rest of the team healthy as well, which is really clutch. I also think that Metagross has great coverage. I think AV can help with mid grounds into Raging Bolt, give you initial switching, and also give you a Pokemon that puts on a lot of pressure on Emvee's team. Overall, I am going to lean Emvee in this matchup. I really, really like both Annihilate and Raging Bolt here, and then Pokemon like Weavile and Mew also just have an incredible matchup to where I think that Emvee is going to be able to take this one home. Next up, we have Uzi versus Shady, and a really fun one. Uzi picking Shady for this matchup. Now, from Uzi's side, I think Chiyu has an absolutely incredible matchup. I mean, it always does. It's always a really strong Pokemon, but I think that Shady's team in particular really lacks that especially defensive prowess to kind of try and take this thing on. You have the likes of, like, maybe some kind of Spinef Rotom, Screens, or maybe some kind of AV Magmortar, making it, you know, have to choose and make 50-50 on which stab it's going to click in the Tera, but realistically, click a button, switch if you don't kill something, click a button, switch if you don't kill something. I think Chiyu goes absolutely insane here. I think that Dragapult is also really nice here. Now, there's a great check in Grimmsnarl, right? One of the best checks to Dragapult on paper, but the fact that Pult has Infiltrator and has an ability to hit behind those screens and hit everything else really hard, as well as Grimmsnarl not having any reliable recovery, right? Being really easy to will down with U-turn and all the hazards that Uzi has available to himself is really going to make that thing super solid here. I think that AV Treads is a potential possibility here. The likes of Azelf and Duraludon, or Archaludon, sorry, do really, really well into Uzi's team. So I think having a blanket check to those guys is honestly incredibly clutch. It throws off big knockoffs, and while something like Rotom can check it pretty well, you knock it off, you're going to be in a good spot, and then you have Ice Spinner for the likes of Serena and the Landorus, and you're actually doing pretty okay with it. So definitely a really solid Pokemon here. And then I think that Dio is really solid here, whether it be like a Fizdef check to something like Sneasler, Landorus, whatever it may be, but also as a spiker. I love the spikes in this game. Again, Chiyu, Pult plus spikes is always a winning combination. Now, as from Shady's side, I think Scarf Sneasler is a good shout here. The likes of Dragon Ball would probably be the best immediate defensive answer to it, and it might be Cobra Cloak, but regardless, you're still going to whittle that thing down pretty fast. You have like Shadow Ball / Night, or Shadow Claw / Night / coverage. Do it super effectively if you need to, and you get it in range. But once that thing's gone, it's great speed control, hits the team decently hard. I guess outside of Okidoki as well, but I also like it as a Scarfer faster than Chiyu, because otherwise there isn't one, and that's a little bit scary. Well, I guess Azelf as well, but Azelf lacks any kind of Oko power in Chiyu. So I like my Scarfer to be able to do so. I also really like Grimmsnarl. I kind of mentioned it, good soft check for Dragapult. can get up screens for the rest of the squad, maybe facilitate, some setup offense, or just, you know, easier pivoting, or potentially an Assault Vest set. I think an Assault Vest variant, or even just like a Leftovers Max FDF Parting Shot variant, could do a ton of work in this game, maintaining momentum for Shady and giving him a good pivot into Dragapult. I think Azelf is incredibly strong offensively. The Dark type is something like Persian. I think some kind of Nasty Plot set could really put in a lot of work in this matchup, or potentially just a Life Orb for attack set. If you get in, you click the right button, it might do some work, especially if you get some Mystical Power boost, and I know Shady really likes that move. I also think that Zoroark is incredibly strong. Again, Ghost Resist, Alolan Persian. That means that Shadow Ball is super free. And I guess also the Chi-Yu. So the combination of Hyper Voice plus Shadow Ball is incredibly powerful here. It has great utility, can force some really awkward positions, and is a Shadow Ball immunity, which is nice into like a potential Specs Bolt or whatever it might be. And then lastly, I think that AV Magmortar, we kind of mentioned it before, some kind of Terra Fairy set could be an okay pivot into a lot of the special offense on Uzi's team, in particular that Pult and that Chi-Yu, giving a little bit more of an offensive answer to those big demons and big threats to the team. Overall, I am going to lean Uzi in this matchup. I think his hazards, plus a bunch of knockoff, momentum, and Chi-Yu is going to carry him to a victory in round 1. Next up, we have Joey and his Los Angeles Lakers picking Leo and his Carolina Haxorus in Game 1. Now, as for Joey's side, I think that Thundy goes buck wild. Nasty Plot absolutely smokes this team. I mean, it has coverage for absolutely everything, hits everything insanely hard, and there's plenty of setup opportunities on this thing, right? The likes of Zapdos, the likes of Uxie, the likes of Appleton, the likes of Tinkaton, the likes of even Tusk being forced out. It's going to do a ton of damage. It also isn't OHKO'd by really anything minus that bundle. If we know Joey, we know that he's willing to spec his Thundies to live, bundle hits, whether it be another funny AV set to, really lure that thing, or even potentially a Yashi Berry variant to be able to take that thing on. I think that Lycanroc also super smokes. If it can get that Tusk once with the Psychic Fangs, with the Play Rough, whatever coverage is carrying for it, from there, the Rocks move is just so unbelievably free. Tinkaton also can, take Stone Edge, but especially defensive variants don't take, Hazard into Stone Edge into close combat, at all. And I definitely do think it's going to leave specially defensive, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. I also really like Banded Cinderace. I think Banded Cinderace is absolutely incredible in this matchup. Really the only long-term checks. I mean, is there any long-term checks to it? Something like Tusk can check it decently, but then you're opening up Lycanroc and things like that. Something like Manaphy, I suppose, but you take that Banded Libero U-turn and you're basically dead. And the other fire resist is going to be something like Ogerpon. Same thing. You take that Banded Libero U-turn, you're basically dead, and you're one gung shot away from just dying guaranteed. So I think that Pokemon is incredibly strong. I like Swampert as just a general pivot into things like the Tusk, into things like Zapdos, and even things like Tinkaton getting up rocks, flip turning around. And then, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, there might be a Dugong angle in this game. That thing with boots is a phenomenal check to that Iron Bundle, which does incredibly well otherwise. With Thick Fat and its water and ice typing, it becomes a big problem for that bundle to try and break through, which can be nice. Grab flip turns for yourself, maybe some kind of pair strap set, something cool for sure. Now, as for Leo's side, I think that Tusk goes buck freaking wild, man. I mean, I feel like you always say that about Tusk, right? Fighting plus ground is so good offensively when you take into account that it gets ice coverage and knock and rapid spin and a ton of things. I think this is going to be really important for hazard control this week. I think you definitely rock out the dual step ice spin or rapid spin set. As for your item, it can be a bunch of different things. You can go Pyappa because it also somewhat lures Lottie and takes Psychic Fangs, or you can go Rocky Helmet, which I personally like to really punish that physical offense from Joey's side in that Cinderace, Lycanroc, and the Scizor. So I think that's definitely really solid. I think that Wakan offensive Manaphy is really strong here as well. I really like the coverage that it has doing Surf, Ice Beam, and Energy Ball. Your tail glow up. You're going to do a lot of damage to this team. It might not win because there's a few things that can revenge it, but it's at least taking 2 down with it if it's positioned correctly. I really like Terra Dragon Appleton as well. Mostly because it's a great Cinderace check. You can get that Terra off, lose that Grass typing, and become a really big resist to that Pyro Ball that's really scary. And you're not weak to U-turn anymore, which is nice. Obviously, you gotta be careful about high jump kicks and things like that are banded, but realistically, having a Pyro Ball switching is... excuse me. incredibly clutch. I also like Tinkaton a ton here in this matchup. It's a great Lottie check, and it soft checks a lot of that, you know, that offense on Joey's side. Even things like Thundurus, if you're especially defensive, you'll take a hit from it pretty well. Even things like Lycanroc, you're gonna naturally take a CC from it, even if you're especially defensive. It knocks, it rocks, it T-waves, it does what Tinkaton does best. Now, I would typically leave my pick'ems right here, but since we don't have an interview, and since I missed you guys last week, I'm going to give you guys something cool for this weekend for playoffs going forward. What we're going to be doing for this next section of the video is we're going to have a live battle in the middle of draft notes. Yes, a live battle. You're going to get to see the OG albino play a draft game if you haven't done so. A little bit more laid back, obviously, and I'm being a little bit hyperbolic to hype it up. But we're going to be playing against my good buddy Aimel, who helps a ton of the coaches here in the SPL throughout the season, whether it be Joey, Emvee. I mean, I like to call him the shadow coach of the SPL because he really has his hand everywhere. He is a building marvel. I'm gonna link him down in the description below as well. Please go check out Aimel. That's my buddy. That's my guy. Love that dude to death. We're gonna be doing a mock battle. I am going to be Leo. He is going to be Joey, and whoever wins that will win the pick'em for the week. Let's go ahead and jump on into that part of the video. Alrighty, we're here, and I said it in the notes that there is a viable place for Dugong here, and you saw the same, Mr. Aimel. Is it just because of Mr. Bundle?
Maybe.
Alright, let's go ahead and check it out and go ahead and jump on into it. It's really interesting because I feel like there's a lot of... Dude, Billy and Dugong on the same team is also absolutely insane. Super crazy.
I thought it would be nice to see them again because Joey only used them once each.
No, that's definitely fair.
I mean, who knows? Maybe he's bringing them again.
I mean, it might be the time for Billy and Dugong to the rescue to save the playoff run and do a really tough matchup and tough team. It might be time.
For example, it's just Leo because why not?
Hey, sometimes you see that surprise factor. Little spikies. Oh.
Little taunty.
Big taunt, big aggressive taunt.
Rocks for you. Give me more. Ow, don't take that.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, give me more. That hurts. Okay, so you go this, you're gonna spun because I don't have a ghost.
Yeah, that's I thought about Quillfish being good, but like I think it's really tough for him to be able to keep the hazards up guaranteed, you know? Now I have that off, you know. I'm in a good spot right now, all things considered. There's not
I'm not in a too bad spot, to be honest.
Okay, I mean you got a lot of chip off on it, which is nice, but trading the Tusk chip, I wonder if I mean I guess it's worth, right? Because like something like Lycanroc is so threatening, and now that Tusk is at 53, I mean it's in range of Rock move plus Psychic move.
Alright, here comes the hero that we need and deserve.
Big Bubble, or Big Billy. Ooh, there's not really a great switch into this on this team. Are we gonna see? Oh no, I don't know if this is the hero that we need. I'll be honest, man. There you go. He got his one.
I'm still alive.
He got his one.
Big Billy claimed Great Tusk.
He got his one. Alright. We'll go ahead and get the ton. I guess there's another Terra Captain on the team.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah, it's tough because like Terra Steel is good into certain things, but realistically, this is his best defensive check, like to a lot of things, and the neutral dragon typing is really solid here, in my opinion, at least. It's also interesting to look at a matchup like this and like talk about your opponent's team with you, because I don't know, it's definitely really interesting. Holy moly, Big Bappleton with the 2-hit KO. Yo, what are you doing? You better not flail on me. But you can't, because you'll die to helmet soon.
Oh.
Sub-Sal.
I only have one button to click.
It's Pyro Ball? Oh, it's Blaze. Okay, to be fair, that was doing nothing. I'm still thick fat. That's doing. I mean, let's calc it.
But you're not.
We're gonna calc it. I'm Fizz Def thick fat. I feel like that did 0, but we will see. Hold on, change to Blaze, just for the people at home.
Hold on.
+2. I mean, it would have been funny to get the chip. Oh, dude, you were doing 30% max. It unfortunately was not doing any type of damage to Big Bappleton at all.
So you're saying you're SixFtHax, right?
I am saying I'm SixFtHax right now. Unfortunately, I don't think SPL Bapple is the move anyway, so... I don't know, maybe that's just me. Especially with that Cinderace. I think Cinderace super smokes, so...
I have to go this guy.
Oh no, this is so sad. Big Dugong, just don't be...
old?
Okay, we're Perish Trap. Okay. Ooh, didn't like that. That's an aggressive ass double. I didn't like that very much. Woo!
Hey, come on, Billy! Do it, Billy! Do it for me!
This might be
for the fans.
This might be a KO. I don't think there's really anything I do to stop a double edge KO.
And it's for the fans, Billy!
Because getting Tink Chip is so bad, right? Because Tink Chip opens you up super big to Lycanroc gun game. It's also nice for never mind.
Ah, Billy, come on!
I'm sorry. Maybe Billy doesn't come. Maybe Billy does not come.
You knew I should have brought Flame Guts.
I knew you shouldn't have brought in Billy, unfortunately. I think we're vibing this, the kids say.
Can I still win this?
You might be able to. I mean, like, Thundy has such an incredible matchup that, like, there's always a possibility. Ooh.
That did not. Ow!
Yeah, I'm like super SPL. Alright, cool.
Hey. You know, poison? Come on!
That's crazy that it only does 27 to Appleton. SixFtHax Appleton. Neutral, by the way. Guess we do go down. That's a good
at least we killed the Appleton.
That's a good mid-ground bring. It is
Brand.
Life Orb.
Iron Frondle.
Yeah, I think it might be checkmate at this point, though.
I guess. Yeah, there's nothing to do for this. Okay. Big knockoff.
Wow, you're like Parashok knockoff Icy, but it has to be Whirlpool last, unless you're just trying to force things out. No, it's flip turn. Interesting. Ooh. She just got a little bit interesting. It's like full, just like, is the idea just like, what setup is that? I guess it stuffs like Manaphy, stops Manaphy.
It's just to
like,
enable.
Yeah, it stops Manaphy from being able to set up and just go to town too, which is nice. I think that's valid. Drill Run, ooh, are you no like normal rock set? Because you gotta have CC in this matchup, right? Or is there no need for CC?
Close combat hit for super effective Terrestrial, Apple, and Cincino, but I figured Drill Run hits Tinkaton anyway.
That's fair. I mean, I'm SPL Tinkaton, so like my idea was like I want to live one from it and put myself in an okay spot.
Dugong.
Yeah. Good old Dugong.
Old.
Okay, reasonable.
More bundle, okay. Guys. I mean. Survive Dundee!
I don't think
That's
from
Thunder.
35. I don't think we're living the cudgel from 35, brother man. I think even with crit, I don't think you kill Manaphy even if it's offensive, so I think that's a wrap for me.
Man, I wish I was Toxic Core Facade. That would be my strongest move.
Toxic? Dude, I remember you brought that versus me in GBU. Oh, Play Rough was... Okay. Dude, I was gonna say that's a little throwback. Wasn't it for like a bulky water too? It wasn't Manaphy, but it was something else, right?
Yeah, remember, it's just like a strong move. But yeah, GG, you won very closely.
Very close, dude. Even with Big Billy, we unfortunately couldn't snag the dub.
If only Billy had glasses. If only.
we're gonna. So what we'll do for the pick'ems, because I didn't give one at the end of the pick'em segment, we'll count this as pick'em. So we're gonna say that Leo wins this one by a narrow 1-0 margin. Maybe I'm Leo. I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. We'll do this again next week. Let me know after the games come out what matchups you guys want to see me and Aimel duke out and play along with next time. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Aimel.
Always a pleasure to.
And then lastly, we have Gator versus Chimpact in this one. Gator choosing Chimpact. Now, as for Gator's side, I think that the double offensive water is absolutely insane here. Samurott gets a great hazards. Obviously, then like hands is going to check it decently well, but there's pivots into hands on this squad. Great ways of pressuring it offensively as well. And if we're chipping that thing down with ceaseless edges, we're getting up a spike, and then we're maybe hitting it with a razor shell and switch in. We're going to whittle that thing down super fast, and the main thing is the spikes, so something like Keldeo can come in and just click the fighting move, man. If it's not a really bulky Dragonite, really nothing takes on the Keldeo super well. Maybe Screen Tail as well, but again, your water move away. I think it's really strong in this matchup, that dual offensive core. Whittling things down with hazards and going to work. I also love endgame Iron Moth. I think it looks really solid. Really the only thing stopping it in my mind is going to be like an AV Hands or a Tinglu. You chip those guys down, you're going to be in a great spot. Also the Arcanine if Arcanine ends up coming, but again, we have great ways of wearing down Arcanine as it's pretty easy mon to whittle. That's for sure. I think that non-Terra Belly Bolt is great. And the reason I don't think Terra is great is because of a Pokemon we'll talk about in a minute on Chimp's team in the Tornadus Therian. I think keeping your your flying resistance is imperative in this game. It also has things like D-Knight, things like Hands. It can Toxic, be really annoying. Whittle down the Tinglu as well, which is really nice. And it's overall a pretty solid Pokemon. And checking a lot of the scary stuff. Now, as for your Terra Captain, I think the Whimsicott is probably the move. I think that Ground Whimsy is incredible. It's going to nuke through the common, checks in things like Arcanine and non-Terra Reverum. And realistically, beyond that, Moonblast Energy Ball goes pretty darn buck wild. I mean, do you even need Energy Ball? I don't even think you need it. So you can, fit on some nice tech coverage options and things of the sort, which could be really darn clutch in this matchup. So definitely a solid Whimsy one for sure. And then I really like Donphin here. I think it blanket checks a lot of the physical offense, things like Hands, things like Physical Dragonite, things like Reverum if they're not Terra Grass, but even then, you have to take a hit pretty easy. Things like Arcanine. It's going to be a great check to those guys. It's going to rapid spin away hazards and maybe get up rocks of its own, which is really nice. Now, as for Chimpact's side, he has a lot of really cool things. I think the offensive Torn, like we mentioned, if Belly Bolt doesn't come, I think some kind of Nasty Plot set is incredible. I don't think you want to be a U-turn variant here, because you don't want to be tempted to click it into that Belly Bolt, get static, and then go, oh man, my Torn sucks now, So I think just like a Nasty Plot variant does really well in this matchup and is incredibly strong. I think that Hands is super obnoxious. You can go on Assault Vest variant to check the likes of Goldango, check the likes of a Iron Moth, check the likes of a Keldeo, or you can go Rocky Helmet variant to check that Samurott even better, whittle it down. You could even go a Shuckleberry variant to, check things like Donphan potentially if you're like a Swords Dance variant. You can 1v1 that thing, open up the rest of your team if you're a physically oriented team and you want to end for like an Arcanine in game or something like that. So there's a ton of options. Those of you who've been around the channel for a while know I am a Iron Hands stan. That is my GOAT, my favorite mod to use in this format. So I really think it always has a lot of potential in every matchup, and this one is no different. I think that Tinglu is great in checking the Goldango plus the Moth really well, and even trading with something like a Keldeo if it's weakened, or something like a Samurott if it's like a Body Press variant or something like that. Could potentially be really valuable. Sets up hazards, is a big nuisance, and is pretty solid in a lot of the special offense on this team. I think the Ogre Water is also incredible offensively, and it revenges that dual water offense, which is great. Gives a water immunity, which his team doesn't have, otherwise Surf/Hydro Pump would be so free from Keldeo. And then beyond that, it's really fast, it's really strong. I mean, and the only thing that really switches in is something like Zarude that just gets you turned on and then dies from full. You can go Knock Off in that last slot, you can go... Does it get Stopping Tantrum? I'm not 100% sure. It's also a valid option on it, but realistically, I think you just need stabs and you turn around. Something like Whimsicott resists them, but it's not gonna resist it for very long once it tears, or because it's a Whimsicott at the very least. I also like Terra Reverum. It's really, really solid here. Either Grass or Steel looks really strong. Steel, if you can, chip down the rest of the team, put things in range of +1 gunk shots and things like that. That Terra Steel Iron Head's gonna do a lot of damage. You have high horsepower for the Iron Moth and Goldango as well, which is really, really nice coverage. Grass is a little bit better defensively though, so I would definitely understand that. I also like D-Knight a lot. I think some kind of like specially offensive fatter D-Knight is really good here to check not only the likes of Keldeo, soft check Hammerot, but also check things like Iron Moth, things like Zarude. If we're really fat, especially defensive D-Knight, we're gonna check those Pokemon pretty darn well. You'd be surprised at how well they get checked. But overall, I am actually going to lean Chimpact. I think this matchup is super close. This is the one I'm most excited to watch matchup-wise, but I think that Chimp has just a little bit more options, and the top end of his team does look really scary, particularly that Torn and that Ogerpon. We'll see how it goes. We're going to go Chimp, and that is going to be draft notes for round 1. Again, I know it's shorter. It's just playoffs, right? We're doing half the games that we typically do. Hope you guys enjoyed the little mock section. Let me know which matchup you guys want to see in the future. I guess you have to watch these games first. Come back to the video, let me know, or you can ping me in the Discord. Go check out Aimel. Obviously, go check out all the coaches. I'm sure you have if you're watching this video, though. And yeah, I appreciate y'all watching. Appreciate you guys being patient with me, missing a week last week. I'll see y'all next time. Later.